At Wallace Real Estate, trust is more than just a word. It's been our foundation since 1936. Whether you seek backyard adventures or a quiet spot for your morning coffee, we understand what makes a house a home. Our agents are here to simplify your home journey and to lead you through the process, whether buying or selling. With Wallace Real Estate, you're getting more than guidance. You're gaining a local partner dedicated to bringing your dreams to life. Start your real estate journey at wallacetn.com.
So Tennessee remains perfect on the season, and of course the opponent they faced remained perfect on the season. Was never going to be a team that threatened that perfect record. Everyone thought it was going to be a complete blowout, but it was even more so of a blowout than I think really anyone considered. As we just mentioned, it was 37 points in the first quarter. I think they had about 65 in the first half. They go on to win 71-0 over Kent State. And I think the most important takeaway from a game that, despite it's an FBS opponent, was that they were able to maintain their focus, which we see teams struggle to do a lot in college football. We saw that a lot Saturday as well.
Yeah, we did. I mean, with Tennessee, I thought their focus was outstanding. Now, of course, Kent State's not very good, but we have seen evidence of other teams that struggle. For example, when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last week, Georgia struggled against Kentucky tonight. Arkansas had a dogfight against UAB. So we know that it can happen, but this Tennessee team has done a really good job of that. I give Josh Heupel a lot of credit for that. I mean, not only did they not look ahead to the Oklahoma game next week, they didn't even look ahead to the Morgan Wallen concert. So I give them a lot of credit. They really did a nice job.
Yeah, I will admit it took me a lot longer to realize why the goalposts are no longer inside Neyland Stadium. It is because Morgan Wallen will be here soon enough. But more on the focus of this team. You saw it immediately from the Tennessee defense on the opening drive for Kent State. It was, I think, the third play from scrimmage. The quarterback, it's another bad snap. I think they at one point had negative 51 yards from bad snaps. But it's Keenan Peely who, as he's trying to bobble the ball, the quarterback, he just comes in, tackles him for loss, a 5-yard loss on the play. And again, we're seeing it from the linebacker room, able to set the tone early in the game.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. I've been impressed with them. The linebackers, the defensive line. Gosh, this Tennessee team, the defense is not allowed a touchdown yet this season.
Yeah.
You go back to last year, they didn't allow a touchdown to Iowa.
16 quarters.
Yeah, that's amazing. And they've done a great job with that. Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator, has done a nice job. But they shut down. Look, I know Kent State's not very good, but Tennessee took care of business. They shut them down. They played, I thought, real solid in a lot of areas, in particular on defense. They ran the ball up and down the field for over 450 yards. They set a record with 740 total yards, and they shut it down in the second half.
Yes.
They could have scored a lot more points than they did, but even Tennessee advanced the idea of a running clock in the second half, or even limiting the number of minutes, and Kent State said no. I don't know why, but anyway, Tennessee just rolled over them, set a record in the modern day era for points scored. They got 71 points. The previous record was 70 against Louisiana Monroe in 2000.
Yes, and on the Sports Source, we were even talking about what our score prediction was. I think one of the guys said 70. I was even thinking 52. I had apparently no idea what Tennessee's offense and the defense was going to do Saturday night. When we talk a little bit more about the defense as well, Jeremiah Thielander continuing to be someone that continues to grow and improve, really taking on his role this season. They had 5, passes defended or pass breakups today. He had one of them, and it came at a good time as well, where brings up another third down situation, which Kent State was not good when they had an opportunity at a third down. I think at one point they only had 5 first downs in total. Just with, again, that linebacker room just really able to affect the game today.
I like Thielander a lot. He's a guy that came to Tennessee from Georgia High School. He had over 450 career tackles. That told me he's got a nose for the football. He's got really good instincts. And you talk about the third down conversions. At least on 3 occasions, Kent State thought it'd be a good idea to snap it over the quarterback's head. So they didn't convert any of those.
No.
But they ended up 2 out of 12 on third down conversions. Tennessee's defense going into this game had allowed only 4 of 26. So Tennessee has been great defensively on the third downs. They showed that again against Kent State. And now it didn't really matter much in the second half because the game was over at halftime. But I thought it was a good, solid performance by Tennessee.
And of course, complementing those defensive efforts was Nico Imaliava in the offense, namely Dylan Samson, who for the third game in a row has scored Tennessee's first touchdown of the game. 2 times now, UT Chattanooga, and then here against Kent State, it was the opening drive touchdown. That didn't happen against NC State, but he has just such an effective running back this season. We saw glimpses of it a year ago, and he is just taking off this season.
Hard to name a better running back in the SEC right now than Dylan Samson. The 4 touchdowns, that ties a modern-day record. John Kelly had 4 touchdowns in 2017. You got to go back to the 1920s when Gene McIver had 5 touchdowns, a long time ago.
Yes.
So, but what Samson is doing, he's got a nose for the football. He's a more complete back than he is than any point in his career, which also tells you he's good in pass protection, which he struggled with early in his career. But he's been dynamic. He had over 100 yards again. You got Deshun Bishop with over 100 yards. He looked good, had a couple touchdowns. Peyton Lewis came in, the freshman, had 99 yards. So, yeah, but Tennessee ran the ball at will against an overmanned opponent.
Yeah, a year ago, Dylan Samson had 7 rushing touchdowns. He had 1 receiving to get 8 on the year. He now has 9 rushing touchdowns on the season, and we're just 3 games into this thing.
I think he's got a great chance to lead the SEC in scoring. I don't know if he can lead it in rushing because the only thing that's going to keep him back is he doesn't carry that many times in a game. They're putting games away so much, he's limited on the number of totes he gets. But I really am impressed with what he has done. And you got to give credit to the offensive line. They've done a nice job as well. I am still a little bit concerned about the depth of the offensive line, but I think the starters are really solid.
Yeah, if we kind of continue to look at that running back room, we, I think, briefly mentioned Deshun Bishop, the Knoxville product. At one point, he had 3 carries with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Both of them were for explosive plays, I think like 50-some yards and then 40-some yards to the house for his 2nd and 3rd career touchdown at Tennessee.
Yeah, he's looked really good, and he was a preferred walk-on when he got here.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if he had the ability to play at this level. Obviously, Tennessee wasn't sure either because he didn't get a scholarship.
Right.
But he's proven that he is worthy. He is their 2nd best back. I thought Cam Seldon might be that guy coming in. He didn't play again today. He's been injury prone. But Bishop has earned his way, and I've been really impressed with what he's been able to do. And it's great to see a Knoxville kid perform the way he has.
And I guess, you know, we've looked at the last couple of years, and they've always had at least 3 strong running backs in that room. Is that still an area of concern maybe when we look as we get closer now to SEC play to really find and establish that 3rd running back for this room?
Yeah, I would say so because they have done it against not so tough competition. At least 2 of the teams they played were awful, and then North Carolina State didn't look very good either. So when you get to Oklahoma, do you have 3 quality backs? I don't know. I'm still wondering about Seldon. I think he can be that guy. Maybe it's going to be Peyton Lewis because Seldon's missing his opportunities right now. But I do like the running back room a little bit better now after watching him 3 games because, in my opinion, going into the season, there was only one guy that had proven himself, and that was Samson.
Right.
And now we have seen other running backs step up.
Exactly. And then, of course, with Nico Imaliava, another strong outing today. Early in the game, he's trying to make connections with Mike Matthews, who was a little banged up to start or during the offseason, so he didn't start right away. We saw him try to make connections with him. Also, with Chaz Nimrod, we saw connections again with Squirrel White, which I like that they're kind of going to him earlier in games as compared to what they did in Game 1 against UT Chattanooga. How beneficial is it going to be to have a guy like Mike Matthews be someone who's actually in rotation in this wide receiver core?
I thought that Josh Heupel said something very revealing tonight in his press conference. He said now that Matthews is back from being banged up, they can go to their 4-wide set. I thought they could have gone to that anyway.
Yeah.
But that tells me he's been in the rotation and they think highly of him. And not only did he do a nice job in the receiving area, but he also had a kickoff return for over 30 yards. He looked good in that area as well. I think he's a big-time talent, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about him going forward.
Yeah, not to get distracted from that point, but Bill Carter did pretty nice on the returns as well today.
He did. So the special team showed up. Max Gilbert had 15 points, if I'm not mistaken. That's a whole lot of points for a kicker.
That's a lot of points. I definitely love that. Just maybe what we need to see from Nico. I know Josh Heupel talked about, you know, there are a few moments they went back, whether it was like an RPO or fundamentals that he had. Obviously, like we mentioned with Mike Matthews and Chaz Nimrod, those were 2 incompletions that he had early in this game. I kind of struggled to maybe get to them in the middle of the field. Is it concerning me? Obviously, he was still near 70% completion by the end of the game. But is it in those moments of fundamentals that you're like, we really got to hone in on this before we go to Norman?
Yeah, I don't know that that's a huge deal at this point. He is so talented.
Yeah.
that sometimes we might expect him to be perfect, and he's not going to be perfect. But he was perfect on his first 10 passes this season.
Yeah.
He was perfect on 15 of 16 to get the season started. Sometimes when he throws an incompletion, it's like, really?
I know, it's like, huh.
But no, I think he's okay. But you can't learn a lot from the Kent State game. But I think going to Oklahoma, now this is going to be his first true road game.
Yes.
He's had 2 neutral site games against Iowa and against NC State. He's had 2 home games against bad opponents. Now he goes to Oklahoma, and that is going to be a different situation. Do I think he's poised enough to handle it? I do. But he's still got to prove it.
Absolutely. And just one final thought, too. I was thinking about Gaston Moore, who his first pass attempt was complete, and then his opening drive when he took over the quarterback roles for this game ended in a touchdown pass. How encouraging was that performance for maybe how he will be utilized if he's needed as the season progresses?
I think it only gives him confidence. I mean, he was 4 for 4 for 94 yards. He threw 2 touchdown passes, which is one more than Nico.
Yes.
What about controversy? But I do think you want to establish somebody that, in case something happens to Nico, that's ready to go in. I think Gaston Moore can do that. I said before the season, I thought if Moore was the starter all year, they'd be a bowl team. I didn't think they could be a college football playoff team.
No.
Now, I think they're a college football playoff team right now.
The way they're looking, yes.
I really do, with Nico at the helm. But you can win some games with Gaston Moore if it comes to that, which certainly Tennessee hopes it does not.
You mentioned Tommy Witten to start the show. That's your latest interview on the Rewind. He's had tragedy in his life, been able to overcome it now here as a preferred walk-on for Tennessee and kickoff coverage. A little bit about that story, because I know some of the people who might have not had a chance to look at that, it's back on the homepage under the Rewind. What do they need to know about Tommy Witten?
Well, he's unbelievable. His maturity for his age, and he had something that happened to him as a teenager that shouldn't happen to anybody. He came home to visit while he was at ETSU as a freshman. This was his, it was around Thanksgiving, and when he went to tell his parents that he was heading back to Johnson City, he found that his stepfather had killed his mom and then took his own life, and he came upon that scene. He had to try to clean up the situation. He had to also help his 2 younger sisters who were ages 6 and 5 at that time, and the maturity he showed at that point was kind of remarkable. How he has dealt with it. He has reached out to some friends, but very few people really knew about it. He hasn't even gone through therapy. He said, I can handle this. I can deal with this. And as one person told me, they call him the old man. He acts like he's 35 years old. But that interview, and he opened up about it. He hadn't really talked about it much. He opened up and talked about that, about being a walk-on, about wearing that Tennessee uniform and how much it means to him. He also talked about in the very first game against Chattanooga, he had to run down the field on kick coverage 12 times. He had a few more tonight.
Oh, he did,
so I'm sure he's worn out. But it's
near
a really,
90% effort, yes.
Really happy with that interview. Hopefully folks will check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a high character guy there for sure. Well, Paige Dower, Jimmy Himes on the field pass as Tennessee is 3-0 heading into their first road trip of this season to their first SEC game of the season. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will be back later this week.